Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to your Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play network here of great vidcasts here on YouTube as well. And first things first, just heard from Mike Tomlin. We've got some injuries to deal with, probably the worst of the season being with Juju Smith-Schuster and his shoulder injury. He is going to undergo surgery tomorrow. So he will be placed on injured reserve, obviously, tomorrow as well. Problem is, we don't think he's coming back this season, unfortunately. So what that means moving forward, who's going to be the next wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Are they going to do it with who they have currently? Are they going to expect Ray McLeod and James Washington to step up their games to help out, as well as Cody White, who's been on the roster here the last few weeks? Are they going to need the tight ends to step up with Pat Freiermuth and Gentry, and of course Eric Ebron to be that big body in the middle to help stretch the field? Or will they have to start relying on more of the running backs to shoulder the load? Hopefully Anthony McFarland being activated here soon, as well as Najee Harris, as well as hopefully Derek Watt, if they can ever get him involved in the offense. The guy can play football. We all know Derek Watt can play football. I want to see him get some plays. I want to see him get some footballs in his hand. So let me know, Steeler Nation. Be sure to chat. Click the chat. Let me know your comments. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know your questions. This is your show. I answer your questions today, and we get to go over exactly what you want to talk about. Continuing at least on the injury front, I know we have Zach Banner. He is now in week 3 of his recovery. So he has a week pretty much from today that he has to be activated. Otherwise, he reverts to injured reserve, or he needs to be cut because if he reverts to injured reserve, he's lost for the season, or he's rostered. Obviously, if he's rostered for this week, that's a moot point, not a big deal. Anthony McFarland is in week 2 of his 3-week window for injured reserve activation, being not taking up a roster slot while returning to practice and starting to practice a little bit more. We'll find out this week if either of them is able to return. Both of them have, injuries that I've expected them to come back. I expected Zach Banner to be back last week, to tell you the truth. He came back on all of social media. He's super excited to be playing again. He's glad to be feeling great again. So I expected him last week. So this week, especially with the offensive line now playing the way that it's playing, getting a guy like Banner back on that offensive line is only going to make it better and only make the running game better and more explosive, because we know that guy can move mountains, and he is a mountain of a man. So I can't wait to get him back on there as well. Couple other injuries during the game. It appears that Devin Bush re-injured his groin. I know Tomlin danced around the fact on whether or not he injured his groin or if it was a re-injury. I'm pretty damn sure it's a re-injury. It's going to take him a couple more weeks to get better. I mean, these groin injuries are like a month. He rushed back. He was starting to get better in games, retweaked it. Now he's back at square one. So don't know how severe it is. We'll find out this week. Same with James Washington and his groin. Everybody gets groins on this team. Cam Sutton and his groin. They both missed last week with their groins. We'll see if they're able to practice this week at all. Also check to see if Carlos Davis can get any practices back, because he's been out since game 1 with his knee injury. Yeah, now he's missed 4 straight games being on the inactive list. And that's unfortunate, because he should have been put on IR if they knew in advance that he was going to be inactive for 4 games, because it just doesn't behoove them to keep him out there any longer. Good to have Chase Claypool return in the last game. Good to have Cam Hayward back. He had a neck issue. Ben, of course, was going to play. Juju played with that rib injury and then ended up getting that shoulder problem now. Kevin Dotson came back from his hip flexor, and Chooks did clear concussion protocol, and all of those guys did play last game. Najee Harris is a concern, I guess, now too, guys. I mean, congratulations to Najee having an awesome game, finally getting over 100 yards, looking like a monster out there. I mean, definitely like falling forward and spinning and making big plays down the field for everybody, and really extending the game, finally having a 100-yard rusher since week 6 last year, almost a full year when Connor did it last year. But that cramp the cramp issue, I guess, is something that he had issues with in Alabama as well. And I didn't find out that until today's press conference when they mentioned it. Like, yeah, he's had some issues with those cramps in Alabama. what can they do about it? And Tomlin simply said he's got to work on his hydration. We've got plenty of nutritionists, plenty of training. We know what to do. We know how to make sure that he is healthiest coming into the next game and moving forwards because we need him out there. Robert Tamburo coming in on YouTube. Baby Gronk has been underutilized, and that's a coaching scheme and coaching play calling problem. I wouldn't say he's underutilized, Robert, because he's now the starting tight end. He is. I mean, there's no two ways about it. When we were going 2 tight end sets last game as well, Robert, it was Zach Gentry coming in on the field to be that second tight end in the running plays, not Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron is strictly the receiving threat. He's strictly coming in on 3rd and 2nds and longs if we need somebody to stretch the field. And now that we don't have that big body of Juju Smith-Schuster in the middle of the field, stretching those plays, stretching in the middle, intermediate range to get those first downs off of 3rd down and shorts, now it's Eric Ebron's job to start getting some more calls coming back into the offense and making some plays downfield for this team because they're going to need it moving forward to get to do well. And I want to share something here with you, Steeler Nation. I got to go see the game last night in Baltimore with my buddy Jeff. He's my best friend. I was the best man at his wedding. And yes, I'm not a Ravens fan, but I was representing the city colors for the Orange Birds, not the Purple Birds. Enjoyed a hell of a game. My gosh, if any of you guys stayed up late to watch this game, Steeler Nation, I am amazed at the fact that Baltimore is finding ways to win each week when they should be losing games. They could be as easily be 0-5 as they are right now, being 4-1. Could have even won that Las Vegas game playing that. So this is a team now that we've got to deal with and really have to worry about because, you know, Lamar Jackson, I thought he was going to get exposed this year. I thought teams were going to figure him out and state that, you know, hey, you know, like all you have to do is crowd the line of scrimmage. That's pretty much what the Colts did last night. They crowded the line of scrimmage. They dared them to run. They shut down the run game. So now they're tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers for all-time games having 100 yards rushing, which is the game before when they had Lamar Jackson run for it when there was a kneel-down situation, just so they could get over that 100-yard line and you know, beat the Steelers record. But they didn't beat it. They tied it because they didn't get it last night. So now the Steelers are still tied with most consecutive 100-yard games in a row with the Baltimore Ravens. And, you know, it's his ability to be able to have that line of scrimmage crowded and still be that accurate the entire rest of the game through about 400 yards, through over 400 yards. I mean, the guy is just definitely like otherworldly. And Debbie, you're right. The Colts choked. The Colts had 2 chances to win the game on field goals, had 1 blocked, had another one right there at the end of regulation. They screwed the pooch, you know, and that was it. And also, the Ravens had to execute, get their 3 touchdowns and get 2 2-point conversions as well, just to have a chance to win that game. And here's an interesting thing too that happened during the game. I'm not sure if you guys really noticed it on TV, but we noticed it in the stands right after the Colts missed their kick, 2nd kick in a row. Who did they march out for the coin toss? All-world kicker, Justin Tucker, man. They put him out. They trolled the hell out of Indy and put Justin Tucker out there for the coin flip. They won the coin flip. They went down. They didn't even need his kick because you knew if they get the ball at midfield, he's kicking it. It wasn't a windy day. I was there. There's no wind coming in across those goalposts. So kicker was just shanking it. Kicker was he just didn't have it. He did not have it last night. Robert coming on. I forgot I could throw this up this way so I could show what you guys are saying. Expecting Zach Banner to be some great savior is extraordinarily foolish given his actual track record at being good as a 6th offensive lineman, a few plays a game. Well, he was more than a good extra offensive lineman a few plays a game. He was an excellent offensive lineman a few plays a game. So much so that Steeler Nation would get up and cheer every time he stood out, reported in as tackle eligible. He's a big boy. He can do it. He's just had injury situation. His injuries are the only thing that are stopping him from being an all-world player. And this is not shown from necessarily on regular season tape yet, but in preseason we have it on tape, and in training camp we have it on tape. The guy can move people. And his biological father was Lincoln Kennedy, was an all-pro with the Raiders at tackle for his career. And Banner's bigger than his biological father. Doesn't consider him his dad, not really part of his family, but he is his biological father. So that's an interesting thing to think about when you're thinking of your football pedigree. And when it comes down through a player like this, he has that pedigree and he's a leader. He's already a leader in that locker room. We've talked to him many times. I've talked to many people across that offensive line. They look to Zach Banner for leadership. And he's just waiting to come in there. He feels like he's letting the team down. Nobody is going to be more upset than Zach Banner about not being in here yet. So, you know, I just can't wait for the rest of you to see what we've already seen on the training camp film, on the preseason film. The guy is a body mover, and he's honestly, Chooks played a great game last game. Chooks had a great game at right tackle. Not going to take anything away from Chooks. He's supposed to be at left tackle this season. That's why we've got, he slid over to right tackle since Banner was out, since Moore's only played left tackle all through college and now in the pros. So if Banner comes back, to tell you the truth, I don't know if they're going to name him the starter yet, because if they do, that means that they'd flop Chooks back over to left tackle and Banner would be the extra tackle. Don't know. And honestly, if he's 100%, I do think Zach Banner will be the starting right tackle, because he beat Chooks out last year for the job. He's definitely the best of those two at it, and he can't wait. The guy's a competitor. He wants to kill people. He's out there slamming Cam Hayward and Tuitt in practice, and they talk about him in practice, and they talk about how tough he is to block in practice. So, it's interesting on how it's going, at least in that respect. Robert back again, who Baby Gronk finally made a full-time starter, just emphasized how much it was a mistake. He was not made a full-time starter from game one. His blocking, granted, doesn't show up on the stats. Again, Robert, he was the starter game one. I was at game one. He's listed as a starter. He's listed as the starter for every game. I think game one was the only game that they had a 2 tight end set to start with Banner and Eric Ebron as the starters. Since then, it's been Pat the whole way. Pat's gotten more snaps. He's the guy moving forward. He's the guy that we need to be out there moving forward. But his numbers are going to go up. And yeah, I see that too. They've been giving 10 passes his way. But, distribution of the football, he's not going to get 10 passes his way if we're running the football and we're only throwing the ball 25 times. The person that's going to get the most passes in our offense is always going to be Deontay Johnson. He's the X receiver. He gets open better than anyone else in the league on his route tree. And he's the guy that you're going to go through, at least on that. Couple, earlier in the year, I wouldn't have relied on trying to get him 10 passes out of the gate, him being a rookie. But I think he can handle it. If the Steelers needed to get him 10 passes in a game, I think he can handle it, Robert. I know you think he can handle it probably too. But we'll have to see how it moves from there. I can't be upset with the play calling and the execution now, since the offensive line has started to gel and they're working hard together. And now that we've had this game last week, I mean, you look at the stats from both teams. Denver's defense didn't allow a running back over 60 yards all season. Our offense hasn't gotten a running back over 60 yards all season. You want the easiest bet in Vegas? It would have been that Najee Harris would have been kept underneath 60 yards that past game, but that wasn't the case. He doubled up that amount of yards. He was up over 122 yards for that game. Added another 40-some yards in receiving as well. And that just goes to show you the difference in how execution is, because we just weren't executing as a unit on that offensive line. It was always a different person each play making a mistake, a lot of pre-snap penalties, a lot of holding penalties, and you limit those holding penalties, you get everybody on the same page, finally executed and not making those small technique errors. That's the type of offense we were expecting to see this season, because we needed running caliber offensive linemen, and that's who we have across the board. Dotson's a road grader. Trey Turner's a road grader. We drafted Moore and Green to be road graders, and Chooks is definitely a better running offensive tackle than he is a passing offensive tackle defending the pass rush. But, he's fairly balanced. He does a pretty good job against the pass rush, did a hell of a job against the all-world edge player over there in Von Miller for Denver. I mean, heck, Von Miller's stat sheet was 2 tackles. None were tackles for loss. He wasn't making plays in the backfield. And Ben's really his only sack. You got to put it on him. He was hanging on that ball way too long. trying to run around and make a play. But, you know, moving forward, I'd like to see Ben make more plays. And fortunately, this past game, he wasn't missing the wide open plays he was missing the previous game. You know, setting up and getting Deontay Johnson on that touchdown early was great. And I really loved the pass that he had in between three defenders deep down the seam of the field to Claypool in the end zone. I thought that was his most beautiful pass of the game, showing that he still has the arm strength. He's still able to thread it between three guys over top of the one, in between the back two, and make a play and have his guy use his height, speed, and just dominating body presence to jump up and high point that ball. It's like we've got our own baby Megatron. We got Mapletron back there spreading syrup in that end zone. And man, that was just fun to watch him in moving forward, because he was out the previous game with his groin injury. Didn't look like it hindered him at all this past game. And he's really going to have to step up as well. Like this offense is now really going to rely on Claypool and Deontay Johnson taking the majority of these receptions from the wide receiver position, because we really don't have an answer at that third wide receiver position. I don't see them putting Washington really in the big slot. I mean, they can. I mean, he is good at catching the ball in traffic and using his big body, but I don't think he does it as well as Juju Smith-Schuster. There's just no comparison really between those two, being able to execute in that respect. Ray is a different type of slot receiver, and that's like hearkening back to the days when we had like Eli Rogers and not Antonio Brown, but Antoine Randall L running the slots for us, being that faster, shiftier, better route runner, smaller size, quicker twitch player. That's a Ray McLeod. And yeah, you might have to start integrating him in those types of plays, and maybe even Jalen Samuels pulling him back up off of the practice squad to talk about him possibly coming in and doing that. And I wanted to at least talk about the practice squad wide receivers just a little bit. We still have Tyler Vaughns on the practice squad, but he's a rookie from USC. He's more of a 6'2", extend the field type of wide receiver, more like a Z position guy. So that's already the spot that's taken up by Claypool, taken up by Washington normally when Claypool isn't in there. So don't see them calling up Tyler Vaughns. Steven Sims has a chance to be called up. I mean, he's in his third year now as a wide receiver, and he's more of a quick twitch, a 5'10", 176 guy, coming around and making plays back when he was playing for the Washington football team in 2019 and 2020. But when he was a rookie, he did his best. He had 310 yards, 4 touchdowns, which is pretty damn good, you know, coming in as that third receiver, making some plays in the middle of the field in the slot. And also, you know, it took a step back a little bit, not huge, 265 yards, 1 touchdown, his second year. But he only played in 12 games as opposed to 16 games the previous season. So, yeah, your numbers will drop a little bit because of that. But he's a veteran. He's a guy that the Steelers can bring in and have some degree of confidence with his ability to be able to make some plays for the Steelers should they need him. And that's something the Steelers have been doing a decent job. I thought they've been pretty thick at retaining some talent across the board for wide receivers, especially when they seem to have some like really good guys like Deontay Spencer, who we even got to see, who used to be part of the Steelers practice squad as a quick twitch, good X-caliber receiver, good in the slot as well, and was the returner for the Denver Broncos when we just played them a couple games, or just last week. So Steelers know how to take care of the receivers. They know how to figure it out. But I wanted to look personally on who's available now currently that the Steelers could possibly pick up in free agency. And I was pleasantly surprised to see a couple names there. One guy being a wide receiver who's my all-time favorite wide receiver ever in football that never played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's a guy that played in Pittsburgh in college. Got drafted the same year as Ben Roethlisberger, and that's Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, I don't know if he's got the ability to come back. I know he considered, or at least said that, yeah, I'd consider coming back for a Super Bowl contender or something like that, but he'd definitely be that big body that could fill in that position that Juju Smith-Schuster was for us. Guy doesn't drop passes. The guy has the best hands in football. Like he and Antonio Brown, they've got best hands in football. Those guys just never put the ball on the ground unless they're getting whacked in the hands, but they know how to get their hands out in front of them, so it's tough to even get their hands whacked. Another guy that I like being a possible option, Julian Edelman is out there. And that's a slot guy. That's a guy that knows how to make those tough catches in the middle. And if we wanted an upgrade at the slot receiver position, if he's healthy enough to play, you definitely have to take a flyer out on Julian Edelman. Steeler Nation, if you guys have any ideas on a wide receiver that you'd like to talk about or you like to think that would make a possible good fit for the Steelers, go ahead and throw it down there in whatever chat forum you're on, because I compile all the chats right here. I'm able to see a little bit of everything, which is kind of cool across all these platforms here on StreamYard. But yeah, I'm able to at least respond to you guys in real time as these things are coming along and going on. I'm just taking a quick look here at the whole league since I just lost my window on the wide receiver positions that are going to be that are currently free agents this season and that aren't currently on teams. I know Josh Gordon just got picked up. He would have been a great option to be able to play that position. Another big-bodied receiver, and Kansas City just keeps getting richer when it comes down to those things. Golden Tate was another name that a lot of people have been bringing up, and he's another one of those tough, big-bodied receivers that can make those tough catches and has good hands. And I wouldn't be against picking him up if he's healthy and available. Because he's in his 11th year also. So, you know, I don't know if any of you guys have any preferences. I know Stan Marsh. Hey, how you doing, Stan? Yo, the Fitz call. I don't know, man. He's already have his ring. If it wasn't for us, right, that would be legendary, though. And nothing would be more legendary to Stan than to give him a ring, since we were the one that took that ring away from him when he was playing. And, man, he did everything he could in that game to try to earn his ring. When he split Polamalu and the other safety, I guess it was Clark, on that one play straight up the middle for that long touchdown to give them the lead with about a minute and so left in that game, where a lot of Steeler Nation thought that might have been it. That might have been the nail in the coffin. Hell, look at that 100-yard return. Larry Fitzgerald is the player that nearly makes the play to tackle James Harrison to stop that 100-yard play. He went to try to whack the ball out for some odd reason. If he just goes for a straight tackle, he probably stops the biggest, best play in Super Bowl history, being able to tackle, you know, Harrison right before he crosses the line. That is something else. Kenny Beamer, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Kenny. Yeah, we're talking we're talking on possible options right now for wide receiver. And just trying to see who we think would be good fits for Juju Smith-Schuster. We already talked about Larry Fitzgerald. I mentioned Edelman and just started to touch base on Golden Tate. Rad Rob coming in when Larry Fitzgerald was an NFL water boy as a kid. Wasn't it for the Steelers? Love your idea to bring him out of retirement back to the Berg. Striker. Yeah, thanks, Rad Rob. I know he grew up in the Pittsburgh area. Went to University of Pitt. That's a great story if he goes from being a ball boy coming back. I know we also had another former ball boy return in our old offensive coordinator a couple guys ago. Oh gosh, what's the guy's name? Crap. Geez. He was the guy that we got right after Arians that got the quick pass attack back out for Ben Roethlisberger. It was why he's really good at it. Why am I just drawing a blank on the guy's name? Man, I can see his face. I'm just drawing a blank on that offensive coordinator. I know you guys can pop it in the chat there if you guys figure out which offensive coordinator I'm talking about. But yeah, his dad also used to coach for the Steelers, and that's why he was a ball boy as well. Don't know why I'm having a brain fart there on that, but that happens sometimes. Yeah, but there's another name on here, and the last name I'll probably even give some credence to for being a possibility would be Joe Brown. Don't know if he really fits what we need. I think he's more of a field stretcher. John Brown, I'm sorry, not Joe Brown. Used to play for Vegas. He's also at 30. So don't know if he'd be a viable option going down through. I know Des Bryant's on there, but I wouldn't want him. Travis Benjamin would be interesting. If that's a tall receiver, I liked him out of college. If that's the guy that used to be for, I think Tampa Bay used to have him. Same thing with Moncrief, used to be a tall guy, but he's definitely hasn't been as good recently. He's not really, doesn't really, those guys at least don't fit the mold. They're more Z receivers. We've got that position locked down with Claypool. We do not need a Z receiver. We need a slot, a big slot, or another X guy that can slide to the slot. Just somebody who can catch the football, extend the plays, extend the downs, convert third downs into first downs. And, that would be Todd Haley. Thank you, Rad Rob. Oh, it's driving me nuts. I should have remembered Todd Haley. That guy. Yeah, Todd Haley as offense coordinator. You're spacing on. Yep. By the way, he was hired partly out of nepotism because of his dad. Well, I think the nepotism. People don't hire people in Pittsburgh because of nepotism, but you do definitely get a job interview because of nepotism in Pittsburgh. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to hire you, but they definitely did. And that was a neat story going from ball boy to offensive coordinator. And still our best offensive outputs of the past 30 years is under Todd Haley. I mean, those are some amazing offensive outputs. So, I know a couple of people might miss him now. I necessarily don't miss him. I just don't like his diversity in his play calling, though I know that we had a lot of talent and Ben was able to get that ball to the end zone and get that ball to Antonio Brown a ton. And that was back when Bell was also at the highlight of his career as well. Unfortunately, he just is not the same player anymore, which is unfortunate. But it's the way it is sometimes in professional sports. Couple things I wanted to talk about moving forward for this upcoming game against Seattle. Interesting that the best player on the field and the only quarterback I'd take in this league where, where it wouldn't even matter how many draft picks it would take to get him. And that's for Wilson, their quarterback. And unfortunately, he's going to be missing the game. He just had surgery. He's going to be out next 4 to 8 weeks, I guess we hear. So that's really unfortunate because he's a hell of a quarterback. He's probably the smartest decision-making quarterback, in my opinion, in the league. I love what he does with the footballs. I like how he's not necessarily a running quarterback, but he can use his legs. He can make every throw on the field. He knows where all of his receivers are. He knows how to go through all of his progressions and work people open and to throw people open. And I just love the guy to death. But to be able to have to come off of Wilson coming into this game, and now you're going up against Geno Smith, that's a tough out now for Seattle. I mean, yeah, it's Steeler Nation. I know, we used to lament the fact every time we go up against a team's backup, we get slaughtered. But this is a different defense. I know if Bush isn't going to make the game, if he's banged up still with that groin, I'm not as worried because I like Spillane. Spillane can definitely play that position and do it well. He got hurt last year when we had him coming in, making big plays, returning touchdowns in that Ravens game to help us win that one. I got no problem with Spillane. Hell, even this year, when Bush missed the game the last time, Spillane was the best player on the field in that game. And that was a dog crap game. Second game of the season against Raiders when everybody went down to injury, but Spillane was all over the field, sideline to sideline, running back 30 yards, making plays downfield. The guy was just all effort, and I love that guy in there. So I'm not as upset if he's going to be in there. Cam Sutton, I want to get back because he makes our entire defense better with his diversity, being able to switch him from edge to interior. Nice to see Pierre develop within that game. I mean, he's making plays now. Yeah, he got beat on that one touchdown, but man, for him to come back at the end of that game, lock down his receiver, turn and pick that ball off on the end zone, just has to do so much for his psyche because he is a big reason why we won that game, because he made the last play of the game that made sure that they couldn't even have a chance to tie it, let alone win it at the end of regulation. So going back at least to Geno Smith, he's been in the league 11 years now. I mean, he's bounced around a few teams. We know he started off with the Jets for his first 5 seasons, played with the Giants, played for the Chargers for a season, and then Seattle now for these past 2 years. But he was really only a starter his rookie year and his second year. That was it. That's basically all of his stats come from those seasons. And I mean, when you're a rookie throwing for 3,000 yards, 12 touchdowns to 21 interceptions just doesn't do it. Next year, 13 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, a 50-50 guy just doesn't do it. I mean, this guy is a upside down in the interception ratio. He's got 37 interceptions to 30 touchdowns. I mean, I wouldn't normally be afraid of a quarterback like this, of this caliber. I think we're going to force him to try to make plays. He's also not known as that much of a mobile quarterback or as being that dangerous as being a runner. So the Steelers can kind of force him and tee off on him a bit to try to make him make mistakes, turn the ball over. And I think this game really plays to our defense to having the ability to have the advantage to making some plays on the football. So looking forward to seeing what kind of schemes that Butler and Tomlin are going to put together in this game. And also our guys getting back just healthy enough to be able to start making some plays. Also, we got to hear that Tuitt came back and practiced a little bit, or at least was at practice, because he hasn't even been at the facility or in Pittsburgh here for the longest time. So it's good to hear that he's starting to get back in the facility. Hasn't been started his 21-day window yet for injured reserve. So we'll still have to wait until that comes out. But nice to hear, because nothing would make our defensive line better than getting him in there to be able to play with Hayward on the other side of him. Buggs is doing some great work inside at interior. Mondu getting his first sack playing interior. But if you have anybody, it really doesn't matter who's playing interior. If you've got them between Tuitt and Hayward, you're going to make plays, because those guys are going to take the doubles. And you're going to be one-on-one, and you got to be able to beat your guy. And that was the way Mondu did it last week. That was a nice spin move, submarine going under and getting those legs quickly before they were even ready or expecting somebody to be there, let alone somebody Mondu's size making that kind of play. And I love seeing that. And I'm not discrediting what Wormley is currently doing for this defense, because he's playing a hell of a job. I mean, yeah, he's not the pressure defensive end that we have in Tuitt, who's a two-way guy who can pressure the quarterback while defending the run. But man, is he defending that run admirably. He is not a liability. He's making plays. He's making tackles. And he's coming back too, and in pursuit, making tackles 12 yards back down the field to make sure that we don't bust a huge play bigger than what it already is. So I love his motor. I love his intensity. I think that it was worth the draft pick, especially the way that we're utilizing him now, because I would shudder to think if we didn't have Wormley, what our option would be at left tackle this year. I mean, yeah, we'd have to probably throw Loudermilk in way earlier than expected, and it's nice to see him get some snaps now, but no way is he ready. No way was he ready to come in and start doing that kind of stuff. So got some more questions over here, comments coming off. Here we go from Stan Marsh. I'm just worried about DK getting 19 targets, 10 catches, and like 150 yards on us. Yeah, I mean, I think we really only let up 100 yards last week because of not having Sutton in there and not having that consistency. Though I really liked watching Mullet play the slot position. It looked like Hilton in there. I mean, the guy was banging at the line of scrimmage. Guy was making plays in the backfield, stopping screen passes, pressuring the quarterback. I mean, it was fun to watch. Like a Mighty Mouse Jr. there coming in off the field, making plays. I loved every second of watching him out there playing, but I think Sutton's the better option. I really do. And I think they are able to switch those guys up just like they did with Hilton and Sutton in the past. Bring Sutton in on the obvious passing situations, Hilton in on the obvious rushing situations. And you might see that a little bit more, bringing Mullet in the obvious rushing situations, or at least when you're into rushing yardage, to have that extra linebacker, quote unquote, money backer position on the field from that slot corner, another short tackler that can come in and really help make plays in these holes to stop offensive teams from being able to run the football. Yeah. So that's a good point. So if Sutton isn't playing, yeah, DK could get 100 yards, but it's also Geno Smith throwing the ball. Like Wilson throwing the ball. Yeah, I mean, no matter who's playing defense, with Wilson throwing the ball, I would be worried about them letting up 100 to 150 to DK. But now, Geno Smith, I don't know. I don't think he can make those throws that Wilson can make. I don't think he can read the defense the way that Wilson can read that defense. And the Steelers' defense is a tough defense to read this year. They're starting to give you, and we're seeing when they're healthy, they will give you fits trying to read that defense. So looking forward to seeing that matchup. And I think that definitely pushes our team to the positive end, at least, being able to match up defensively against that offense, especially with Geno Smith being the quarterback of the game. My God, I miss Tuitt so bad. I do too, Kenny. Man, I do too. And I know you're commenting on DK. Can't get the ball to DK if Smith is on his back, right? And that's it too. So hopefully that can continue as well. Facebook chiming in. Will Dawson, do you think we need to keep playing Big Ben? Yes. Yes, I do. I think last game showed you. I think the previous game we saw Big Ben playing hurt against Cincinnati, and that was the most aggravating thing to see. We've seen a couple games where Big Ben played hurt, where he just could not make the plays to win games, wasn't accurate, didn't look like a good player. And that was that Cincy game, and he probably should have been pulled in that game because he was just getting hammered too back there. The line was not doing a good job of keeping him on his feet. They were teeing off on him. We were getting penalties, putting him backwards every play. So they knew that he had to hold on to that football a little longer to try to get the ball down the field, and Ben was getting hammered. But this past game, with a running attack, Ben only needs to throw the ball 25 times a game. We're winning those games. We're winning those. If you're going to have Najee get 100 yards, Ben is going to win football games because he does not have to be the guy anymore. Najee can get those touchdowns, get those close yardage, because hell, we're not going to freaking quarterback sneak. That's the one thing that pisses me off to this day is the fact that we're like the only team that doesn't have a quarterback sneak even written into the offense, but that's on Ben. I mean, we start putting in Haskins, we start putting in Rudolph or whoever next quarterback's going to be. They're going to be running quarterback sneaks. And Ben is the same size as Brady, and Brady still calls his own sneaks and does them all the time. So that's something I'd want to see a little bit more. But yes, we need to keep playing Big Ben. Ben was healthy last game. Ben was hitting those passes, throwing his receivers open, accurate deep down the field. His arm is better than anybody else on our team. And, if he's hurt, if he's playing hurt and you see that he can't make those throws and he's not throwing his players open, he's overthrowing wide open players, throwing 8 feet above them, which he rarely does. And that was the previous game. But this last week, there's no way I take him out. He looked great this past week. Had a great game. And Will Dawson following up again. But are we not going to see what we got on the back end if he can't hold up? Oh, yeah. Yeah, eventually, if he gets hurt, you'll see Rudolph come in. Yeah, you'll see Dwayne Haskins possibly work in. I know for a fact that Rudolph is the backup right now. That's the way the team sees it. I liked a little bit more of what I saw in Haskins for his upside, but I can see why the decision is made. Rudolph had a pretty good preseason as well, and kudos to them for picking up Haskins to push him, because I don't know if Rudolph would have had that good of a preseason without Haskins pushing him. I know he can win football games in the NFL when he's in there playing. Hopefully it doesn't have to come to that, but the only way we're going to see those guys, in my opinion, is if it's a blowout game, if they have to do a kneel down situation at the end of the game, or if Big Ben is hurt and they have to start the game. But right now, yeah, I just don't see them coming in there as much. Kenny coming back. I think we are using Najee too much. Get Kellen Ballage in there more. And that's also why I want McFarland back in there too, Kenny. McFarland is the guy that he's my biggest surprise at training camp. He beat out every single other running back on that roster that's been tenured longer. And it's Snell. Benny Snell's been there for a few years. Jalen Samuel's been there for 3 years. Beat out both of those guys to become the backup to Najee. I mean, yeah, he had an advantage of playing in Matt Canada's system for the University of Maryland, and that's probably why he had some familiarity with it. But when he was actually getting in the preseason and showing what he can do and coming out of the backfield, both as a receiver and as a faster running back, I can't wait to get him back there. I can't wait to see him be the guy, as opposed to having to rely on Snell, having to rely on Ballage to try to be that guy. And yeah, I agree with you. I think Ballage has more upside in this Matt Canada offense than Benny Snell. Benny Snell can only run the football. I don't want Benny Snell in there for any pass option ever. If we got to get a short yardage and you're giving Najee a rest or Najee's hurt, Snell's the guy. Snell's the guy you want to get that tough 2-3 yards. Run the football with Snell. If you want to get a screen pass, if you want to do a delay block and release, an inside delay screen, I'd rather have McFarland or Balaj. I'd rather have Balaj over him right now, currently on who's active on the roster. But McFarland's the guy I really want to be in there doing those plays. And we're going to reap those benefits when he starts getting in there for those plays. And I know, not to discredit Najee, like Najee can do everything. Najee is a hell of a receiver, a lot better receiver than I will give him credit for. And I'll say he's probably even a better receiver than Bell was coming out of college. But Bell turned himself into a wide receiver in a running back's body. That guy was amazing. The routes that he could run. I thought he had great hands as well. I thought that he'd extend his career by becoming a slot receiver later in his career, as opposed to trying to rely on playing running back for the rest of his career. But that never came to fruition. Hell, I mean, he kind of bailed playing running back since he held out that year with us. So we'll have to see how that goes moving forward. But yeah, I agree with you, Beamer. If it's going to be one of those guys currently on the roster, I'm going Balaj. I like him better as a receiver than Benny Snell. Benny Snell I'm still surprised he made the roster over Jalen Samuels. I really am. Jalen Samuels at least gives you those two-way options. Yeah, Samuels isn't as good of an inside the tackle runner than Snell is, but damn, is he a better receiver. And he's a hell of a guy blocking. He was one of our best blockers on third down as well, keeping Ben upright and keeping that extra blitzer off of Big Ben so he can make plays down the field. That's one aspect of Jalen Samuels' game that gets neglected. But on the roster, he was probably the best at it. McFarland got a lot better at it in the preseason and training camp this year because you got to see him do it in the preseason games. And I was surprised on how well he got at being, because he was really bad his rookie year at it. That's one of the reasons why he was kind of running around like a chicken with his head cut off every time he got into a game. He seemed like he was kind of like the game was too fast for him, and he was like his hands couldn't get to footballs, and he's kind of running before waiting for the play or the block to develop in the running game, and just like overrunning his blocks because he's so fast. But he'll slow down. Hopefully, he started slowing down this preseason, this off season, and he looked great in those preseason games. And I can't wait to see him come back out there on the field and make some plays from the running back perspective. So Steeler Nation, thank you again for a great conversation. As we always know, man, the Vidcast is always your show. It's always going to be here across our networks, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, both for us and for the Big Play Network. And we thank them tremendously, Dave over there, for having us be part of that great network and be part of their team over that has Cincinnati podcasts as well, Cleveland podcasts, hopefully some Ravens podcasts, because we want to get in and involved and get some nice conversations with those guys too as we get closer and get some matchups in upcoming weeks. It'll be a lot of fun having some back and forth with those guys. And Steeler Nation, you want to catch me too? You can always catch me Mondays. Looks like we're changing our time slot from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock for the Steeler Nation Colorcast. So if you have an Apple device for a iPad or an iPhone, you can download the app for free. Colorcast is cool as hell. You jump on there and you can talk directly with me. You can chat. I can talk to you with your chats, or I can have you on to talk directly and give us your hot takes on what's going on and what's on your mind. And that's a fun way to do podcasting. You're actually part of the podcast with Colorcast. So download that Colorcast app. See us at 7 o'clock on Mondays, and we'll do the Colorcast there. Obviously, the vidcasts going to be normally at 1 o'clock after the presser on Tuesdays. That's how you guys catch us now. And then our pre-recorded podcast comes out, DK Pittsburgh Sports Network, on Fridays at 2 p.m. This week, we're working on hopefully getting a nice, a big name in here. I can't confirm it yet because we haven't gotten the final say yet, but hopefully going to have a big name. I'll tweet it out as soon as we do. We confirm that, but that's always a fun cast. And always take all the questions from Steeler Nation over at the SteelerNation.com page at the Football Forum. Go and join up over there. Ask your questions, and we'll take them on the air for the big podcast at the end of the week on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Network. Thank you, Steeler Nation, for being part of this podcast and this vidcast over here for Big Play Network. This is G.Stryker, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises. Go check them out at tseshop.com as well. Great signed items. And also, we're giving away, there should be a signed jersey right now on their Twitter that they're giving away now. I forgot to see who that is. Let me jump on and see that quickly. TSE shop, Sports Enterprises jersey. Twitter. giveaway. It's always a deal of the day. There it is. Minkah Fitzpatrick this week. Win yourself a Minkah Fitzpatrick signed jersey, autographed mini helmet today for $79. That's the deal of the day is today. Which jersey is it? There it is. Victory Monday. Claypool. It's the Claypool jersey. So they'll give the winner, will be announced tomorrow. If you're following us on the podcast on Twitter @_SN podcast, follow @Steeler Nation, follow @Total Sports ENT, and you're retweet that post and you're automatically in to win this jersey. And I'll bring it up on my StreamYard. I'm just starting to figure out how to do like sharing and all this stuff. So I'll share my screen here quickly and show you this great gift that we got going on right now, showing the Les Claypool jumping up into the arms after a touchdown pass. Victory Monday's back. So like I said, go over to TSE on Twitter, Total Sports Enterprises. Follow @Total Sports ENT, @Steeler Nation, and @_SN podcast. Retweet it, and you might win a signed custom color rust Chase Claypool jersey. So thank you very much to our sponsor over there at Total Sports Enterprises. And thanks again, Steeler Nation, for your show. As always, I'm going to be rooting with Kenny Beamer because I'm your host, G.Stryker, the Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Network. Rooting with Kenny Beamer, rooting along with you as always. Go Steelers!